It'll be recorded for posterity on the RPC YouTube channel. So
Okay. So I think I call the meeting to order. And then do I share the agenda for us all to look at? We don't have anything from before, so we don't make any motions or votes on past events. So we just dive into the agenda as is.
I would ask that program staff share the agenda.
Oh, could the program staff share the agenda?
sure can.
If not, I can. I have it ready. Oh, thank you.
So on the agenda, we have Executive Development District status update, Economic Development Administration representative visit, meeting calendar, and that is all. Would you like me to facilitate the meeting, or Melissa, are you?
Please, that would be great. And I'll try to get better.
All right. So, let's. Do we need to approve the agenda?
That was my first thing I didn't know.
We don't need to approve the agenda. On future agendas, it would be ideal if the first item of business, maybe a welcome, and then the second thing would be any additions or changes to the agenda in order to comply with open meeting law. But we do not need to actually vote to approve the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
So per open meeting law, we could go around, do introductions. Greg worked for the Rutland Regional Planning Commission. Melissa.
Central Vermont Economic Development Corporation.
Taylor.
Taylor Newton, Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission.
And Cooper.
Cooper Babbitt, Chamber and Economic Development of the Rutland Region.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the Executive Development District status update. Melissa, can you lead that portion?
Yes, although I'm going to turn it over to Taylor to update us with anything that he knows first.
So the Economic Development District, not the executive, the Economic Development District application has been submitted. It was submitted a week ago, so on October 11th to EDA. We'll hear within a matter of months whether or not that EDD application has been approved. I am going to be at a conference next week with a bunch of EDA folks, and so I will do my best to ask them to move quickly if possible. That's what I can tell you.
Okay. Any questions?
And I have no other updates beyond that, so on that topic.
Okay, hearing none, then we can move on to the Economic Development Administration representative visit.
So Catherine Trapani is coming to Vermont for most of next week. And I can sort of read out where she'll be each day. She is not going into Rutland or Addison or Chittenden counties. She's really visiting Lamoille, Central Vermont, Northeast Kingdom, and Southern Vermont. But obviously anyone who wants to join would be welcome to join any of her visits. She's doing a grant seminar Tuesday, the 22nd at 10 a.m. at in Hardwick. And then she will be doing a tour. She is going to Williston to meet with FEMA the morning of the 23rd. And then she's doing a tour of Washington County on the afternoon of the 23rd. And then from there, she goes to Southern Vermont for the last 2 days of the week. So I'm definitely going to engage with her and show her around. If anyone else wanted to meet with her or join her and wants more details on where she'll be, feel free to let me know. I think she sent a group email out with some schedule, but now her schedule is firmer. So if anybody wants to engage with her, feel free to let me know and I can help you find a time and place. But in terms of hosting, I think it's well handled at all the sites she's going to. our primary conversation topic will be flood recovery. That will be what she's really looking at in my sub-region of our region. Any questions on that visit or comments?
No questions for me. I have comments. Well, so I'm sending this to Christian. I was supposed to do it yesterday and I forgot. But I'll also send it to you. Our friends up in the Northern Vermont Economic Development District recently got an EDA disaster resilience grant. And part of that grant's all about flood recovery too, and all about
okay.
disaster resilience. And
Interesting.
I'm going to send you that scope of work.
Okay.
Because part of that scope of work is about doing, I'm going to get the terminology wrong, but essentially like a restudy of the Lamoille River in terms of actually doing a hydrological study, way beyond what FEMA does for us in creation of the floodplain maps. And I know that my boss, Charlie Baker, has talked to Christian about doing the same sort of thing in central Vermont in Chittenden County on the Winooski.
Okay.
And I just want to put that in your radar, give that scope so you have it in hand when you talk to Catherine next week.
Great.
And that's perhaps a project, maybe either the EDD as a whole, or probably in the short term, I'm hoping Central Vermont RPC takes the lead.
Great.
And puts that together. So, I don't know for our partners down in Rutland, if a comparable study, maybe looking at the Otter Creek with our friends in Addison County, might be something that's appropriate. So, yeah, perhaps I'll share this scope also with you guys too.
Great. I will also share with this group. So we were approached by FEMA, and they asked us if we would put together an EDA application for the disaster 23 supplemental, which has to be spent by the end of this calendar year. And the concept, so I met with Lamoille and Northeast Kingdom RDC on this, and we came up with a plan for the three of us to apply, but I'm the applicant ahead of our EDD being officially finalized. So it will just be CVEDC, before there's an EDD applying. And it would be to bring in an expert and pay the expert to create individual flood mitigation plans for businesses in the 3 regions. City of Montpelier have put together an almost identical proposal, but it was much more expensive, and the expense seemed somewhat merited. So we subsumed their project and upped the overall budget based on the math that they had done, which seemed stronger and more research than the math I had done. So it will now be a fairly significant application. But when I spoke with Catherine, she said it is a nationwide pot of money, and it was over $100 million. So she wasn't timid about it. I think it's going to be a $2.5 million application when it goes in. But the cost seems merited, and Montpelier actually has the match in cash. So is
a whole match in cash. Jeez.
I know this was like very important to them to do this, and we came up with the same exact program independently of each other. I mean, not that it's that complicated of a program, but it's to hire a flood expert to make each individual building and business in the floodplains in our region, and in the 3 regions now, have their own individualized plan. So it says, like, if a flood is coming, do this to the windows, do this to the doors, and they have that. The Department of Agriculture and ACCD have told me that they are interested in this, because if they were to do a BGAP in the future, they would want some evidence that people had taken steps available to them to mitigate, because what we're seeing is the BGAP program actually incentivizes wrong action during a flood, and the more times we reoccur it, we'll get businesses that drag 23 laptops down to their basement to make
Yeah.
the most money off of the flood. So
Mhm.
can't incentivize that, so must therefore incentivize good flood response.
Mhm.
So we'll see what this all turns into, but I'm taking the lead on putting that application in, and Catherine's been supporting it.
I did one of these back when I was at Northwest. Do you want me to give that to you so you have it?
Sure, that would be great. John Copens is the Montpelier
Yeah.
person, and he's done one before too. So, and that's part of where when I saw his math that he had done and said, "Oh, you're right," and I'm wrong, and this is more expensive than I was thinking. So that would be great, and I do feel like there's a pretty good team. Eric Philcorn is also helping us with it from the state. So people do seem to really want this to be done and to be led by an RDC. So
Yeah, this should be RDC led definitely versus
Yep.
an RPC. So
Yep.
No, that's great. John's pretty great to work with too, I think, in my
Yeah.
experience. So
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah.
You said that money needs to be allocated by the end of the year, not spent by the end of the year.
Correct.
Okay,
Oh yeah.
okay.
We'd be
It's like-
mitigating
Yeah.
at rapid fire.
Yeah.
So Catherine gave me a deadline of attempting to have the application ready by November 8th, which I will attempt to do. I think that's reasonable. And John and I will meet on the 28th of October to make sure everything is knitted together between the two ideas.
Awesome. I think, yeah, if that's, you're going to be taking the lead on that, then having Central Vermont RPC take the lead on a theoretical second
Yep.
disaster resilience application. And, it sounds like this round ends soon. So I'm wondering, probably don't want to compete against each other.
They had told us it doesn't matter to compete against each other because Eric Philcorn is also putting in on the state's behalf for this money. And Catherine had said that's okay, that the projects are all different enough that, and there's enough money left at this point that she's not worried about. They seem to be worried about using the money, not, she said Puerto Rico is really the only other disaster declared eligible space that
In the region.
Yeah, and she said that they haven't had enough activity out of the representatives from Puerto Rico that could apply for this to think that they are maybe even going to apply for it.
Okay, maybe we'll try to light a fire under the CVRPC team, and maybe we can get an application in by the end of the calendar year too.
Yep.
For this kind of comparable flood study kind of project.
Yeah, especially if they're replicating something that already exists, that should hopefully save time.
That should hopefully help. Yeah, and I'm wondering, I want them to do all the work, but I think we might end up being fiscal agents, so there will be some work for us. But we'll, we can cross that bridge when we get to it.
Could also, because if we get ours, we will have to do a single audit and everything. And we're preparing for that to be likely for next year, just based on what we're putting out there. Because we have a USDA that could put us over the edge too if we were awarded that. So just keep that in mind that we could as well.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fine by me. I'm wondering about, they're big and they're just the administrative capacity to get the money out and like through and out.
Yeah.
I don't want to put too much pressure on you. You've got two of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can keep talking and figure out what's realistic.
All right.
Yep.
All right, cool. I'm going to CC you on my email to Christian then. All right.
Sounds good. Are there any further comments or questions on the EDA visit? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the meeting calendar. So our next meeting is it in January with the whole group?
Full board, yep.
Yep. Okay.
Greg, we're going to have to make another appointment at that meeting, remember?
Yep.
And so I think Melissa was on it. Cooper probably wasn't, but Fred Kenny found another board member. We had one slot open. He's recommending David Blittersdorf from All Earth Renewables to be on the board. I have no objections. So we can appoint him. The full board has to appoint him. And we can do that in January.
I don't have that date on my calendar yet for January.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, let me pull up the exact date here. I believe it's the 17th.
Yeah, that
Okay.
would, I think 17th as well. It's the only free Friday, and I keep these Fridays free, so.
Yeah, so the next meeting is the 17th of January, 9 to 11, which is be full board and committee combined. And then following that, June 20th, which I believe is also a full board
Mhm.
and committee combined meeting. And I don't
Yep.
think there's anything scheduled after that.
Correct.
Okay. And did we need to set an executive meeting in between those two or not yet?
Thought we had one in an executive committee in like March, maybe.
Yeah, I thought there was that they went back and forth.
I think that'd be good, Greg, to have one on March 21st. Just executive committee, just so we at least meet quarterly.
Here's your packet here.
There you go.
Yep.
21st. Okay.
And
It's
Go ahead.
doubled up. Is that an error where it says that the executive committee meets January 17th and the board of directors meets January 17th, or it's one combined? Okay.
do it as a combo. No need to separate them.
Okay, great. Great. Thank you. And
Greg, could you
Oh,
or
go ahead.
Eli send us the meeting invitations for all those dates so we have them on our calendars, please?
Yep. Do that.
thank you. Do you have all the contacts you need for the January 17th for the board of directors?
Yes.
Okay. We probably need, Fred's person does not come in January. He could come because it's a public meeting. But he would be nominated and voted on, and then the one he'd have to go to or be asked to go to would be June, not January.
I think we're gonna ask him to come to January. To be
Okay.
there.
We might need his contact info then.
Yeah. Yeah, Greg, just reach out to Fred. I don't have
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments on the calendar? There a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I think that's it. We're done.
Yeah.
I'll practice this before next time.
You did fine. Thanks, Greg. And
Thanks, everybody.
And Melissa, if you could, in all your spare time,